We were studying about contents of a tax invoice. So some special cases are there under Rule 54, that what would be the contents of the tax invoice. So there is an input service distributor. So service distributor, who is an input service distributor? So input service distributor is a person who is not doing any sales, who is only doing purchase and expense. So the example can be an office of a big company. Suppose the company is Reliance. There are so many offices of Reliance. Now there can be one office which do not do any sales. They have no sales from their office. They have only expenses. They are doing maybe they are handling the telecaller. They are handling the customer cares. So that is the only thing they are doing. They are not doing any sales. So naturally from that office there is no sales. Now just think of a situation, an office which is registered under GST has no sales. There is only purchase, purchase and purchase. But the other office is there which has only sales, sales and sales. There is no purchase because all the expenses and purchases are done by another office. So how the credit will get distributed? So what is the solution is that the office which has only purchases, they take GST registration as input service distributor. So what that office does, that office only distributes input. They don't have output. So they do expenses and then they distribute that expenses to all other offices which have sales. So these registrations, these offices are called input service distributor. So input service distributors, their invoice or credit note, because to distribute credit to other offices, they also need to issue invoices to other offices. So what will they do? They will issue an invoice to other offices of the same company or credit note, which should contain these things: name, address, GSTN of input service distributor, serial number, date of issue, name, address and GSTN of recipient to whom the credit is distributed, amount of credit distributed, signature of input service distributor or his authorized representative. Now, provision for transportation of goods without issue of invoice. Now, there is a special case. Can a goods transported without invoice is okay? Suppose I sold goods to someone, but I did not issue invoice. The goods needs to be transported immediately. But the invoice I'm not issuing now. Now, what can be the case? As per the rules, whenever the goods are moved out of the factory, invoice issue is must. Now, the problem is, suppose I sold 10 cars. I sold 10 motor car to someone and I issued invoice of 10 cars today. I received payment of 10 cars today. But the person says that I will not take these cars today itself. I will take 2 cars today and 2 cars tomorrow and so on. So I will take 2 cars immediately, 2 cars every day for next 5 days. Now today, whatever cars I'm sending to that location, it will go with the invoice of 10 cars. Now tomorrow, again, I will send 2 cars. Can I send same invoice? No, because that invoice is already being sent to the person. Now, how can the same invoice can come back and then only the car would be sent to the location? Then I can issue delivery challan in lieu of invoice. So today I'll issue invoice. I'll send the invoice with the car so that transportation can happen. Tomorrow I will issue the delivery challan in lieu of invoice. Now, what all things should be there on the invoice, on that delivery challan? Name, date and number of delivery challan, name, address, GSTN of consignor, name, address, GSTN of consignee, HSN code, description of goods, quantity, taxable value, tax rate and tax amount, place of supply, signature. So these things should be there on delivery challan. Now, next topic is interest applicable under GST. A person who is liable to pay tax within but fails to pay within the prescribed period. Suppose for the month of April, the due date of payment of GST is 20th May. Now I did not pay tax up to 20th May. I need to pay 18% per annum interest. A taxable person who makes an undue or excess claim of input or undue reduction in output. So I have taken benefit from GST, which is undue, which is not correct. I took some wrong benefit. I have to pay not 18%, 24% of interest. Now, interest on refund, 6%. So whenever GST department issues any refund, then 6% per annum interest would be granted. Now, if there is any refund order is issued, but the refund is not credited within 60 days, then interest at the rate 6% will be paid. If if due to an appeal, a refund is granted and that refund is not given within 60 days, then 9% interest would be applicable. Now, collection of tax and its indication on invoice. Person who is not registered in GST cannot collect tax on invoice. Person registered under GST cannot collect tax on invoice except as per the provisions of GST Act and rules. That means you cannot collect tax more than what is prescribed in law. Suppose the rate of GST on some goods is 12%. Now you cannot collect tax more than 12%. You have to collect 12% only. You cannot collect as per your own wish. Text must be mentioned. Tax must be mentioned separately on each tax invoice. It cannot be inclusive of tax. These are the basic rules regarding collection of tax. Credit and debit notes. When credit note can be issued? If earlier invoice issued was issued with higher taxable value of tax. Suppose I sold goods for 1 lakh rupees. Now I realized, oh, that goods was only for 90,000. The person is paying me only 90,000. Now I can issue tax invoice credit note for 10,000 because 1 lakh tax invoice I have already issued, but that was higher taxable value. Now I can issue credit note for 10,000. Second example can be, suppose I sold goods for 1 lakh. I applied GST at the rate 18%. Now I realized on that particular invoice, the tax was 12% only. By mistake, I collected 18%. I can issue credit note for differential of 6%. I can definitely issue a credit note for a sales return. Suppose I sold goods for 1 lakh rupees. Now 10,000 goods were returned to me again. So I will issue a credit note of 10,000. In case of deficiency in goods or service provided, if buyer complains me that the goods were not of good quality or service was not as per the expectation or as per the agreement and he is not paying me full money, I can issue credit note for the differential value. Debit note can be issued if the earlier issued invoice was with lower taxable value or tax. So it's a reverse case. I need to issue an invoice of 1 lakh, but by mistake I issued only for 90,000. I can issue debit note of 10,000. Credit note cannot be issued for other reasons like bad debt. Suppose I issue invoice for 1 lakh, but 10,000, but the buyer paid me only 90,000. So I cannot issue 10,000 rupees credit note because it's a bad debt. For bad debt, I cannot issue credit note. Credit note or debit note can be issued only with these reasons. No other reason is permitted. Only supplier can issue debit or credit note. Buyer cannot issue debit or credit note. It is mandatory to furnish credit note or debit note details in GST return. And credit note or debit note cannot be issued later than September following the end of financial year when supply was made. Suppose I made a supply in March 2023. I can issue credit note up to September 2023. Suppose I made a supply in April 2022. I can issue credit note up to September 2023. So maximum up to September 2023. For following the end of financial year when supply was made, I can issue credit or debit note. I cannot issue later than that. So I got a message that someone had so many queries. So we will answer your all queries. Please chat, please write on the chat box what all queries do you have. I'll try to answer all of them. So someone, the name is anyone is here, is asking some queries. Please reply on the chat box only because voice chat is not allowed on this platform. You can type on chat box whatever queries you have. If you are new, definitely you can ask queries. Credit note, debit note cannot be issued later than September following the end of financial year or date of furnishing of annual return for the year, whichever is earlier. So either September or date of furnishing of annual return, whichever is earlier. After that, you cannot issue credit note or debit note. Now, GST return mechanism. What are the basic features of GST returns? GST returns are completely online. It's an electronic filing of return. You have to upload invoice level information. That means each and every invoice of sales need to be uploaded on GST portal. Auto population of input tax credit of return from return of supplier to recipient. So the seller uploads his invoice on the portal. That information goes to the purchaser and the purchaser gets the detail of that purchases that he has made from all the suppliers and that will be auto populated to the recipient. So supplier uploads his sales invoice and recipient or the buyer gets his purchase invoice from the GST portal by auto population. So automatically it will be reflected to the recipient, to the buyer, that these all purchases you have made. So that is what the GST return mechanism works. Invoice level matching will be done. So if each and every invoice that seller uploads need to be matched at the end of purchaser by to his books. If there is a mismatch of input tax credit, it will be automatically reversed. That means you have to reply, you have to reverse it. Otherwise, GST department will raise a demand. So every invoice that seller has uploaded has to be matched with purchaser's purchase invoice. So both invoices should be same. Then only input tax credit will be granted. Regular taxpayer has to file monthly or quarterly return or plus one annual return. So monthly and quarterly is like up to 5 crore of turnover, quarterly return is allowed, and more than 5 crore of turnover, monthly return is required to be filed. There is a separate return for composition, non-resident, input tax, input service distributor, TDS deductor, TCS deductor, TCS collector, UIN holder. Who all are these people? We have already discussed in the previous classes that composition dealer is different, who pays tax straight flat rate 1% on the turnover. He does not take input tax credit. He does not pay tax on invoice basis. He pay tax on total basis. Non-resident is a person who is not from India. Input service distributor, we just discussed in the last slide. TDS TCS provision is there in GST. So on specified purchases TDS need to be deducted. On specified sales, TCS need to be collected. UIN holders are the person who are of special importance, like UNO, United Nations Organizations Office, foreign diplomatic offices in India. These all people are UIN holders. They have separate return. They need not file the normal GSTR 1 or 3B. They need to file different returns that are differently prescribed. Everyone needs to file their return according to activities undertaken from above. So you are a regular taxpayer, composition, non-resident, input service, TDS, TCS, in UIN. You need to file different returns according to your nature. Return can be filed through the GSTN portal directly. It can be filed offline also. Offline utilities are there. It's not that offline on paper. It's like some offline utilities are there. You need to make returns on the offline utilities and you can upload on GST portal later on. And you can also provide it. You can also file your returns through GST Suvidha providers. That is GSPs. So someone is asking, I enrolled for CAT exam, but I don't know anything about exam and syllabus. So the CAT exam and the syllabus, everything is available on the website. You can check your website of ICMAI, Institute of Cost Accountants of India. You can check on the website. Other than that, I'm not even CAT qualified. I'm a better qualified, that is cost and management accountant. So that is further higher degree than the CAT. So I also have no idea about CAT exam. Even this CAT exam is introduced very recently. So that is very new to everyone. So if you have any queries, you can definitely call on the customer care number or helpline number uh, provided on the website. It's there on the website. You can definitely call on that. Other than that, I absolutely have no idea about CAT exam. So I think I have replied your query. So this is the GST return mechanism. GSTR1 monthly to be filed. So this is for the people whose turnover is more than 1.5 crore. So 11th of next month, you need to file it. Quarterly, if your turnover is more than 1.5 crore, sorry, less than 1.5 crore, 13th of the month, succeeding the quarter. GSTR 2, it is involved supply of taxable goods. 15th of the next month. Again, let me tell you one thing. This is old mechanism. This mechanism is no more effective. But still, since it's in your books, I'm explaining it. So there is a return GSTR2 that is for purchase return. So purchase invoices are to be uploaded in GSTR2 by 15th of next month. There is a GSTR2A. So it's a read-only document available to the recipient. So whatever is uploaded in GSTR1 is reflected in GSTR2A. So I'm the seller, I upload a GSTR1, my sales, and my purchaser will get GSTR2A. That is, these invoices will be available to my buyer in his portal. It will be available by 15th of next month. GSTR3 auto-populated monthly document based on the details filed in 1 and 2. So 1 and 2 combines and it comes with GSTR3. It has to be filed by 20th of next month. 3B is a monthly return that so 3 is a auto-populated return and 3B is what everyone has to file as a return by 20th of next month. GSTR 4 is a return for composition dealer, which you need to file every year on 18th April. GSTR 5 is a monthly return for non-resident taxpayer, which needs to be filed 20th of next month. So it's an original draft. GSTR 6 is a return for input service distributor. GSTR 7 is a return of tax deductor. GSTR 8 is a return for e-commerce operator. GSTR 9 is an annual return for regular registered taxpayer. GSTR 9A for annual return for composition registered taxpayer. 9B is an annual return for e-commerce operator. 9C is a annual return for registered person whose turnover is more than 2 crore. GSTR 10 is a final return, a person whose registration is cancelled or surrendered. GSTR 11 is monthly return for UIN holders. And these are the due dates by when this needs to be filed. So this is all for today. We will study the remaining things in the next class.
आपको देखना था कि क्या कर रहे हैं, मेरे से इतनी लगातार बातें कर रहे हैं।